Welcome to DRM News Global. Today we're digging into the stack of sources you shared with us, all focused on the news of Phil Robertson's passing.
Mm.
Our mission here is really to unpack what these articles are saying about his life, his death, and the legacy they describe.
That's right. And the core news across all these reports is pretty clear. Phil Robertson, whom many know as the patriarch of the Duck Dynasty family, he died age 79.
Right, on Sunday, May 25th, 2025.
Exactly.
And this news, it came directly from the family initially, didn't it? The sources point to posts from his son Jace and daughter-in-law Corey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, on social media X, Facebook, Instagram, places like that.
So let's look at what those immediate statements said, according to these articles.
Well, Jay's post on X was quite direct. It reads, "My dad has gone to be with the Lord today. He will be missed, but we know he is in good hands. And our family is good because God is very good. We will see him again. Hashtag Phil Robertson. Hashtag Jesus."
Pretty straightforward message of faith there. And Corey's, the sources say hers was on Facebook and Instagram.
Yes, and hers was a bit more detailed. She apparently wrote, "We celebrate today that our father, husband, and grandfather, Phil Robertson, is now with the Lord." But she also added something specific that the sources picked up on about not grieving like those without hope.
Oh, right, referencing the Apostle Paul and belief in Jesus' resurrection.
Exactly. That focus on faith, it's really central to how the family presented the news based on these reports.
Yeah, it seems so.
And the sources also mention a kind of collective family statement, referencing 1 Corinthians 2, thanking people for prayers and noting his impact and desire to share the good news, as they put it.
And what about services? Did the initial reports mention anything?
Just briefly.
Ah,
They indicated a private service for now, with details about some kind of public celebration to be announced later.
okay. So moving beyond the immediate announcement, the sources also give us some important context about his health leading up to this.
Right. Because while the family didn't release an official cause of death right away, the articles make it clear his health issues were, well, escalating and pretty well known.
And the big one the sources mention is an Alzheimer's diagnosis.
That's correct. That diagnosis was reportedly revealed back in December of last year, so December 2024 relative to this May.
And that was Jace again, right? On their podcast.
Yes, on Unashamed with the Robertson Family. He first made it public then, saying his dad was, I think the quote was, in the early stages at that time.
But it sounds like, based on what the sources say happened later, things might have progressed quite rapidly.
It seems that way. According to these reports, Jace spoke about it again on the podcast just last month in April. He said his dad was just not doing well and really struggling.
Okay.
And he specifically mentioned that the Alzheimer's had accelerated and was actually causing problems with his entire body.
Wow. So the focus for the family then in his final months was really just comfort care.
That's what Jace indicated, yes. The phrase used in the reports was making him comfortable.
Got it.
And there was another health issue mentioned in some reports. TMZ apparently stated he was also suffering from a blood disease.
A blood disease.
Yeah, causing health issues. And Jace also apparently mentioned something similar on the podcast, referring to some sort of blood disease that's causing all kinds of problems, which he felt was speeding up the overall decline.
So putting it together, the picture these articles paint is definitely of someone facing, multiple serious health battles towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
Now, shifting gears a bit, the sources remind us there's a whole life story here before the reality TV fame that most people associate him with. Let's touch on that background.
Definitely. The articles mention his birth, April 24th, 1946, in Vivian, Louisiana, one of 7 kids.
Right.
Attended Louisiana Tech on a football scholarship, actually. Earned a bachelor's in physical education, and then even a master's in education.
A master's in education. And he taught.
Yeah, spent several years teaching in Louisiana schools. That's a detail that might surprise some people, I think.
Absolutely. Quite different from the later public image.
For sure. And the sources say there was even talk of pro football potential back then, but apparently he was always more interested in hunting.
Which, of course, connects directly to what came next. The sources also mention his marriage to Marcia Kay, or Miss Kay, in 1966.
Mm-hmm. And one source lists his survivors.
Mm-hmm.
His wife, 5 children, including, it notes, a daughter from an extramarital affair, confirmed some years back his brother, a daughter-in-law, and 6 grandkids.
Okay. And that hunting passion, that led to the business.
Directly. Found a duck commander in 1972. The key thing was his patented duck call, which became the foundation of the family business.
And that business Duck Commander, that's what eventually led to the TV show, right? The Duck Dynasty phenomenon on A&E.
Exactly. Huge, huge success.
Mhm.
Ran for 11 seasons, 2012 to 2017. It followed Phil, Kay, the sons, Jace, Willie, Jep, their families, the employees, all centered around the business, more or less.
And the scale of it.
Yeah.
The sources use terms like entertainment phenomenon, shattering records for A&E.
Oh, yeah. The viewership numbers were just astronomical for cable TV at the time. Multiple episodes, over 9 million viewers. One season averaging, what was it, 9.4 million?
Incredible numbers. It became A&E's most watched series, most watched telecast, just massive during its peak.
And the sources often point to that distinctive family image.
Mm.
The long beards, the very open evangelical Christian views as being key to that connection with such a large audience.
Right. That seemed to resonate strongly.
Mm-hmm. And that success naturally led to spinoffs.
Yeah.
The articles list quite a few, going Cyril, Jep and Jessica, Growing the Dynasty, At Home with the Robertsons.
And Duck Family Treasure, the one on Fox Nation.
That's the one. And interestingly, the sources note that A&E had actually just announced a revival.
Oh, really?
Yeah, called Duck Dynasty, the revival. It was barely set for a summer premiere, like June 1st.
Wow.
But the reports indicated it was expected to focus more on Willie and Corey, and that Phil wasn't really anticipated to appear, likely because of his health situation.
That makes sense, given what we now know. Okay, so that covers the main business and the huge TV side of things. The sources also touch on a few other ventures and a significant controversy, too.
They do. His memoir came out in 2013, Happy, 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 My Life and Legacy as the Duck Commander.
Right.
And then more recently, in 2023, there's that faith-based biopic, The Blind. The sources say it covered his earlier life, his struggles, his redemption story, and they note it did pretty well at the box office, too, over $17 million gross.
Okay. And then there's the controversy mentioned in the sources, his suspension from A&E back in 2014.
Yes, the articles report the suspension happened. It stemmed from comments he made in a GQ interview.
Right.
The sources stated as fact the suspension lasted about 10 days. It followed a big public reaction, mostly from fans protesting it, and then he was reinstated. They stick to reporting that event, the cause, and duration.
Understood. Just the facts of the suspension itself. Okay. So, stepping back now and looking at everything these sources have laid out for us, we've got the news of Phil Robertson passing at 79 on May 25th, confirmed by his family, with messages very much centered on their faith.
Mm-hmm. And we've placed that in the context of his known health struggles, which the articles detail were escalating, particularly the Alzheimer's diagnosis revealed last year, and reports of a blood disease complicating things.
We also looked at his earlier life, which the sources shed light on his education, that surprising teaching career, before founding Duck Commander.
Right. And then, of course, the massive cultural impact of Duck Dynasty, the record-breaking success, the family's public image, the various spin-offs, and even that recently announced revival.
And we touched on his memoir, the biopic The Blind, and also that notable A&E suspension controversy that the sources highlight. So thinking about all these different pieces presented in the sources, what really stands out to you when you consider the life and legacy described here? How does pulling from these different articles help you see the fuller picture they're painting?
Well, it really underscores the complexity, doesn't it? You see the passionate hunter. You see the, savvy businessman who built this empire from a simple duck call.
Yeah.
Then the unexpected reality TV star who becomes this, huge cultural figure.
Mm.
The person known for very outspoken views who faced significant controversy because of them.
Right.
The family patriarch. And then finally, the man facing these really serious health issues that the sources report marked his final months. It's a lot of different facets.
Exactly. And maybe that's the final thought for you, the listener, based on these sources. Consider how all those different elements, the private background, the business acumen, the sudden global fame, the very public persona, the controversies, and the personal health struggles, how they all combine. It forms this really rich, complex picture of the legacy that these sources are discussing. It clearly wasn't just one thing, was it? It was a life with many, many layers and impacts. And that's the kind of understanding you get when you unpack the source material like this.